So I'm going to have to keep an eye on you. I can tell, Peaky Blinders, the naughty one.
You can't miss me, can you? I'm sat right next to you.
How are we doing, guys? How are you enjoying Cyprus at the moment? Is it your first time here, or have you been before on holidays?
Been here many times. I absolutely love this place. Love it.
It's my first time, but I'm absolutely loving it so far. Everybody's been really nice, and yeah, having a great time.
How about you, Paul? How are you finding it here?
Now I feel I'm on stage now. I feel like I'm on the theatre, like, you know. It's great. It's like the fourth wall. I love it.
So I think I can truly say that we absolutely love it here in Cyprus. Can we turn that light just down ever so slightly? I think it's blinding us all up here, isn't it?
No, I quite like it.
You like it? Okay. You like the limelight. I can tell, Paul. Guys, obviously you've been in some amazing programs, amazing films throughout your career, and we've got three very different, very talented actors on this stage. So we're not going to keep it too specific to the genres that you played in, but can you just tell me, like, the first role or the first life event that made you feel like acting was going to be that career, when that light bulb moment happened for you, when I want to do that?
Oh shit, that's an interesting question. I don't know. When I was younger, I played a character called Gavroche in a musical called Les Miserables in London, and I was a kid. I was only 10 years old, and I loved it, you know. And after that, I went to school and didn't do any acting because it wasn't cool. But I kind of had the bug. So after I left school, I ended up going to drama school because I loved acting so much. But when I was a kid, I really enjoyed it, but just went to a really rough secondary school where it wasn't, you know, a really cool thing to do. But then I eventually came back to it, which was...
Seems to keep that, like, hidden. Like, I mean, nowadays, this sort of pop culture, nerd culture is kind of cool, but back when, you know, in the 80s and early 90s, I suppose, it just wasn't. You had to keep that under your hat, didn't you?
Yeah, particularly where I was growing up in Wales as well, it just wasn't the kind of thing that you do, you know? But it's funny because, in a way, if I'd carried on doing what I did when I was younger, I would have kind of gotten into that trap of doing, like, child acting. But I was lucky enough that I kind of ended up just being able to be a kid and get up to all the naughty things that kids do, and then eventually came back to acting by myself, yeah, so.
Nice, good man. Paul, how about you?
I'm not we get used to it on mic. So I always feel like a front man when I got a mic in my hand. You know, I always wanted to be in a band, so I'm going to stand up for this one. All right, mate, and all that. No, but how do I want to play? Well, basically, the best way I can describe it is that I used to, well, I've lived my life like a film, basically, throughout my childhood, growing up, walking to school in the morning. Funny enough, I got to live that experience on film, actually. Walk into, I used to walk to school in the morning, looking at every car window and all that. I had a soundtrack playing in my head as if I was in a movie. So I always had an imagination, you know, and I never really knew what, I had no idea what I wanted to be, because there was plenty of options for where I grew up. Criminal, drug dealer, or just a bum, basically. And no, acting wasn't on the, it really wasn't. When I was 7 years old and they come to my school and they asked me what, you know, when they come in and they say, what do you want to be? And when you grow, you know, when you grow up and all that, and people put like policeman and fire, and all that, and that was the ambition. Schools I went to, bricklayer, and all that. But I wanted to be a vampire. That's what I told my teacher. And my mum and dad was called up to school, and they was worried about what I was watching, sort of influences I was getting. And but the short answer is, I loved film from a very young age. First thing I can remember watching is that inspired me in a way. A film called Scum, I suppose, or called Scum, by a director called Mike Lee, who died very poor and quite unknown, and he never got any recognition for his work. And his work was amazing. And then basically it was just movies and you know, my childhood was influenced by growing up watching
so
films.
just watching some movies, the heroes,
Yeah,
and it kind of
but never had no
Built you along.
yeah, but never had no not ambition, but I just never had no inclination to. I never thought I'd be an actor. I never. She was never within my. It was if I was good at art at school. No, my art teacher never told me I could be an artist. If I was, the only things I enjoyed at school was art and painting. Art and acting, and being creative. But none of my teachers ever told me that I could be a painter or an actor or a musician or any of those things. But somewhere along the line, I fell into
they did
it.
years ago, did they? I remember them telling me that I was going to work in an office or in a bank. That was
Yeah, that was like that was the dream job. Like,
yeah. Craig, how about you? When did that light bulb moment happen?
Let me say, very similar to the boys. I grew up in East London, watched a million movies with my dad. I was film obsessed, just film after film after film. Fell in love with the type of actors like Lee Marvin, Burt Lancaster, all the like Charles Bronson, all them sort of men actors I sort of gravitated towards. I struggled academically at school, had mega problems, got expelled from a bunch of schools and really struggled growing up. And then I found drama as a little outlet and pursued it and came out and fought. Did 3 or 4 years on the building site, scaffolding, the asphalt, and I learned to become an asphalter. And then I thought, I'm going to give it a go. And the first ever meeting I went for was for a film. They'd seen everybody in London. It was a film with Denzel Washington called For Queen and Country, playing like an horrible, racist old Bill. And I ended up nicking the part. And that gave me the confidence to go, right, I'm going to give it a go. And I just, you know, funny enough, I was an extra on Scum. I was signing on the dole. I went down to Bon Pond down in Woolwich, and they went, you put on your bit of paper, you want to be an actor? They went, they're shooting a film in Croydon. You want to go down there for 2 days? It's a riot scene, you know, when it all kicks off in the dining hall.
I love it.
Yeah, and I was like, I bumped into Ray Winston, and I was like, you know, how'd you get into it? And all that. He went, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And that was the journey. And then, like the boys here, you know, you put your blinkers on and you just keep going for it. And thank God, little things happen.
Yeah, they do, don't they? And certainly nowadays, it's good to see that the sort of education schools are kind of a little bit more accepting of this stuff, of drama, and they really do push that now. Whereas
Well, I remember my
back in the
mates,
day,
my mate said to me, mate, geezers like us don't become actors. Not from where we are. And I was like, but that all changed. I mean, everybody's doing it now. Everyone, you know.
guys, you're all known for so many different roles, but you have become fan favourites, whether it's Craig and Zeph in One Piece now, Paul, Peaky Blinders, Matt, Constantine, obviously, as well. When you first read the scripts, was there anything about those characters that drew you in, or was it, you know, sometimes it is just a job for people, but was there anything about these characters that you were like, yeah, this is the guy for me?
Well, I'll nick mine because it's quite small compared to the other guys. My little role in One Piece, I'm constantly hunting for the human side of characters, something you get your teeth into emotionally. I know it sounds a little bit of a cliche, acty, wanky thing to say, but you do get bored when you're acting. You're trying to find a little bit of depth in everything. You know what I mean? Something that you can move people or test yourself as an actor. So that little role I did in One Piece, because it was an emotionally driven role as a surrogate dad to a young boy, I said I killed to play this part just to show that you can do it. Yeah, that was that. Right.
Well, you absolutely nailed it, because I know you say it's a small piece, but you've become a fan favourite from it. Like, just putting all of that energy into it definitely resonated with all the fans of One Piece. I know you've done so much more in your career, but that was definitely a fan favourite. I certainly saw that online, so hats off to you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I mean, when I got the script for Constantine, I was doing a play in London, and I had long hair and a big beard, and I was playing a Welsh warrior in a Shakespeare play. And I read the script and I really liked it, and I went for the meeting, and then they really liked me, but the executives couldn't see past the hair and the beard. So they said, look, can you cut your hair and shave your beard? But I was in the middle of doing this play, and I said, well, I can't, you know? So they ended up kind of like looking at other people and asking me to re-audition, and it lasted 6 weeks. And eventually the play finished, and they hadn't cast anyone, and I flew over to LA, and then there was 2 of us who tested for the role, and eventually, luckily, I got it. But when I read the script first off, I didn't really know that much about Constantine, and it felt like a little bit like there was something kind of like about this working class blue collar guy who doesn't give a monkeys, and he smokes too much, and he fights these demons. There was just something raw about it that I really kind of clicked with straight away. Do you know what I mean? And that's what drew me to it, really. Yeah.
Nice. Paul, how about yourself as Arthur Shelby?
What was the question again?
When you first read the script, what drew you into that role? And like, oh, I need to be this guy.
When I first met for Peaky Blinders, I met for Tommy, the role of Tommy. I met a lovely lady called Shaheen Beige and the director Otto Bathurst, and I read the part of Tommy, and I remember thinking, I can't do a Birmingham accent. There's no way in the world I could do it. I learned a version of it, you know. And Shaheen is actually from Birmingham, so she was complimentary, which was nice. And then, but I didn't get the role of Tommy because it was offered to Killian, and I remember my agent said to me, "Don't worry, Killian won't do it. He never does television." And like they really like you and all that. Anyway, I was on my way to the south of France with a friend, and I got a phone call saying that you know Killian is going to do Tommy, and they'd like to offer you the part of Arthur. And so I reread the script, and I just thought, it wasn't about. It wasn't a case of it wasn't a question, because it was. I always question things what I read, but it was written so well, and I thought there's so much I can do with it that I agreed to do it. Really, I mean, there's no great mystery, you know. As an actor, you sort of get a phone call from your agent, and you get asked to audition for a part. It's almost like going for a job interview for every sort of.
I mean, sometimes with job interviews, as you said, you can go for a job interview and think, I don't think this is the job for me. Have you ever read a part that you've auditioned for and thought, this isn't the role for me, I don't know if I can connect to the character, and then did you take the character on, and did you surprise yourself by maybe connecting with them?
Well, I think when you're starting out as a young actor, you're desperate and you're hungry and you'll do anything.
Yeah.
You'd kill your neighbours for a part, you know what I mean? It's that bad when you're young.
Yeah.
And I've stood on set many times as a young actor and wanted to break into tears, crying, because it's horrible. You know, you're doing something because you're just trying to get up that ladder. Yeah, many a time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think sometimes as well, like, you know, you when you're younger, you go for every audition, right? Everything that comes at you, you go for, and it's always a chance to practice acting and to do it in front of a casting director or something. And sometimes, like, they might not like you for that role, but they like you for something else. Like in the case of, you know, a little bit with Vern, and I've gotten a bunch of roles where I've gone up for the part and I've been like, oh man, I really want this, and then they're like, but what about this one? So it's that thing of like, I always saw auditioning as a chance to kind of practice and just use it as an exercise to kind of to practice acting, you know, and flex those muscles.
Nice. We're gonna ask the audience some questions. We'll get the audience to ask some questions in just a moment. I'm gonna finish off with one last one, unless you guys haven't got any questions, but I'm sure you do. And this is a true story, though. I once had someone bring up a taxidermy stuffed animal for one of our guests. What's the strangest thing you've been given at Comic Con?
I don't know what the strangest thing at a Comic Con is, but I have an ex-girlfriend who was into taxidermy, and as she was moving out. She had all of her stuff stored in her ex-boyfriend's house in London, and she asked if she could bring it around to my flat with all my mates. She brought around this like big moose's head and a reindeer, and all my mates were like, "What is she doing bringing around all this stuff?" And we had this big bison head in our living room for about 6 months. It was kind of crazy.
Wow.
I find Comic Cons very fascinating, and I appreciate the fans so much, and you know, and some of the stuff that they do bring, I've never even seen before. There was one gun, this big Tommy gun that I was given once to sign, and I've never seen that before. And then there's this other. There are many bits of merchandise from different films and stuff that we don't get to see really, I suppose. But I can't think of anything weird because I'm weird, you know. And so everything that people. I mean, I think that we all live in an imagination here, you know. And as I find Comic Con crowds no different to myself because I live in my imagination a lot, and I think we do here is like, you know, we play and we pretend and we dress up, and you know, and that's essentially what acting is about, really, pulling faces. And so I thoroughly, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this is the best one I've ever been to. I must admit, it really is.
This is a great convention.
Yeah, it really is nice. I've just had a walk around. You know, I mean that though, serious. I've had a walk around. I can't find a Conan the Barbarian bust. So I'm one of them geezers. You know, I've not been everywhere for one, but I can't find one. But no, I do. I really. I think that the fans go to such effort, you know, and with their outfits and some of the stuff that they even make themselves. That it's really really nice. It's really sweet. I like it a lot.
Oh, it's great. How about yourself?
You know what? I've had so many little gifts over the years doing these. I'm grateful for all of them because I'm really superstitious. I have to make sure I take them home with me. You know, so many a time I've got on the plane with a half the size of me doll made of Zeph, you know, with the hat. But a little girl come up to me today. She said, you know, I was up late last night. My mum and dad let me stay up to make this little piece of thing for you. I put it in my bag, and then another girl with a drawing. I'm gonna try and keep them all. I've got them all in my study at home. And but it's lovely that people make the effort to do that.
Yeah, it's lovely. Huh? I have a lot of lighters, a lot of Zippo lighters. Never run out of a lighter. Yeah.
Right, so let's head out and ask some questions, or get some questions.